As a business person, always look out for what is in demand. There are a lot of opportunities when it comes to catfish farming. We do have our archery, and also we smoke our catfishes. We have our local demands and we have our international demands where we export and package our product and sell it outside the country. Catfish is also one of the easiest business to set up. You can do catfish in your backyard. People try to cut corners, so there is really no shortcut. When we first started, it was terrible. They say catfish is like cocaine. There's always a demand for it. As a matter of fact, we don't have enough.
Hello, Mr.
Akim.
All right.
Yeah, afabfarms.
So what do you do here?
We practice catfish farming here, which is an extension of our main farm.
So far, how has business been going?
Hello. We thank God it's been going great. Catfish farming is mainly, enclosure of catfish. You have concrete 18 ponds, you have concrete ponds, and you have tarpaulin ponds mainly. Some people use tanks, but that's mainly not really commercial basis. So the most three common ones are the tarpaulin, concrete, and 18 ponds. So here we do mainly two. 18 ponds and concrete ponds type of catfish farming.
So how many fish ponds do you have here?
We have total of 16, 10 13 ponds and 6 concrete tanks. But we are not using everything at the moment. So some we do have, we stock fishes in there, some we don't. So basically here we practice what you call from beginning to the end of catfish practice. We do have our archery, our lab, where we produce our fingerlings, and also we smoke our catfishes. So we have our smoking facility machines right there.
Did you by any chance study agriculture or anything related to that? So why so much passion? Because I've filmed a video with you on your other farm, and then here you are again, you have an animal farm as well. So why so much passion? As
a business person, you always look out for what is in demand and what the market stipulates. So for me, catfish is one of the most widely consumed fishes in Nigeria. Let's just say it's more affordable. There's always a demand for it. So it's more of the business for me.
As a farmer who is into crop farming and animal farming, which would you say is more profitable to you?
I'll say the catfish. The catfish is more profitable than crops, especially when you smoke your fishes. So if you smoke your fish, you'll be able to make more profit. You can make profit as well selling them fresh. There are a lot of opportunities when it comes to catfish farming. For us, we do everything, but everybody don't have to do everything. So people can pick. You do have some people that they mainly do hatching. Like we have boreholes here, we have about 2 boreholes. So where we hatch our fishes. So some people may just prefer to only hatch fishes. All they do is hatching. That alone is very technical and it will fetch you a lot of money for those that are doing it. You have to be really, really knowledgeable for you to be practicing archery. So whole aspect of catfish is a very good source of income.
You also grow them to maturity, right?
Correct.
And when they mature, do you sell them off or you just
we smoke. As a matter of fact, we don't have enough. In order to meet our smoking demand, we do go out to buy catfish from other catfish farmers. As you can see the areas, the community here, there are a lot of catfish farmers. That's why we have some of our ponds empty. So when we bring them, we just hold them here. But for good practice sake or experimental sake, let me put it that way. We want to make sure that all our fingerlings that we produce, since we are growing them to maturity stage and broodstock, we also have our parent stock. So they're the ones that we use in producing the fingerlings. For us, we tend to keep some of our own quality for quality control sake. So rather than smoking some of our own catfishes that we produce and we know their history, so we tend to keep them. So that way we use them for reproduction. Because those ones are, the price is totally different from the regular catfish that you eat.
Now that you talked about the price, let us shift a little bit. Can you tell us maybe give us a breakdown, price of fingerlings, table size, and then the parent stock?
When we say fingerlings, the price always range because they are sold in sizes, length, and then how big they are. For the most part, their price will range from 15 naira to 100 naira because it doesn't really stay still. To an average person, the 50 naira to 100 naira may not be much. But by the time you multiply it to years by 10,000, 20,000, you realize that it's a lot. For table size, the same thing. It ranges, so there is really no specific price. Some places they sell as high as 2,500 naira.
All right.
Some places they sell as high as 1,005, depending on the weight, because catfish are sold based on weight. And for the brood stock, which we call the parent stock, they can go as high as 5,000, 7,000.
Considering the fact that you are not based mainly here in Nigeria, how are you able to own a business here and manage it?
Being far from the business does not mean that you can still not be involved. For me, I'm electronically involved, and for the most part, when I'm here, I'm physically involved.
All right.
So as you can see, we have camera. I monitor most of the activities on my phone, even when I'm not around. So I can see what is going on in the farm. For the most part, the camera helps a lot. Then when I'm around, I try to visit as much as possible to take a look at the activities and make sure that they are following good practices.
What are the challenges associated with fish farming?
Rising cost of feed in Nigeria.
Wow.
Yes.
Yes.
Two things are very important in catfish. Number one is water source. Catfish, water. It's mainly water. You have to have good water source. We were somewhere else before that we're not having good results as a result of us being in the wrong location. So one challenge is water, but since we are here, we don't have any problem with water. And then the feed. That is a challenge, but at the same time, it's not a challenge because it's garbage in, garbage out. So there is accountability. We keep records of all the feeds that we use. Whatever that we feed to our fishes, that's the same expenses that we factor into during marketing whenever we are selling the fishes. And that's some of the things that contribute to when people start saying, oh, things are expensive in Nigeria. It's whatever the farmers, or the business person, with whatever they spend on, that's what they will end up selling. If you keep records and you are actually operating a business. Because for people that do not keep records, there's no way they'll be able to do proper. Exactly. Because I don't want to deny the fact that one of the challenges or major challenge that can affect your business, mainly theft. When people steal your stock. Another one is flooding. It's not all about identifying the problem. The question is, how do you deal with it? So for us, like we talk about, water has been a challenge. We have a solution to that because now we are close to the water body. Then the other one, high cost of feed, we make sure that we factor that in during our sales. The other one is about security, meaning that because sometimes they say catfish is like cocaine. People will steal it, so it's in high demand.
Yeah.
So imagine you spending all your resources, your time and effort into, setting up a business. And when it's time for you to harvest, somebody comes in and then they just, and takes everything. So it doesn't matter how they take it, fresh or dry or whatever, they're gonna be able to consume it or sell it at a lower price. And people will buy it from them. They don't care whether it is stolen or not. So mainly for us, theft, you can see that we have fence. So control your environment. So we've controlled our environment in such a way that we've minimized the risk of theft. So anything that has to do with missing stock or improper records, then we can trace it to the staff that we have. And then we do periodic counting of our stock in order to know if something is wrong or not. So those are the things that has helped us to battle theft. As for flooding, we don't have that issue here. We have certain setback away from the river. So we've been here for almost 4 years. We've had major flood in the whole of Kwara State, allowing that so many people's stock were wiped off. People lost all their investment. We're not a single of our stock here was affected, because you can look at the land terrain and tell if the place will be flooded or not. We also have a net, meaning that just in case it does happen, so you have a protection that your fish will not go anywhere. They will be right there.
So how many fishes do you have here?
We have total of 3,000, approximately 3,000 at the moment.
You talked about periodic counting. So how do you do that?
So there is something we call sorting in catfish. First, you know your initial stock. that we started with. Let's say you have 3,000. Every day, when we have a mortality, so the staff will have to report it. So we deduct, because every time you have a mortality, catfish will always float, will come on top of the river, because they feed 2 to 3 times in a day. So every time they come in the morning, the first thing they look for above the water is if there's any mortality. So that helps you to keep the number of what is going, what you have in stock. After about 1 to 2 months, you just don't count because you want to count. You don't want to stress out the fishes. So whenever we are sorting means you're separating the smaller ones from the bigger ones, because catfish, they cannibalize. You cannot account for some of them whenever they cannibalize themselves. Whenever we are sorting, we combine those activities together to make sure that during the separation process, then we count, which is usually about 1 to 2 months, especially when they are newly stocked.
Most of the people watching this video might want to go into catfish farming or fish farming. Is it capital intensive?
Yes, it is. Catfish is capital intensive. Catfish is also one of the easiest business to set up. That's just my own opinion. It's even way easier to set up and account for than crops, because you can do catfish in your backyard or in your house as long as you have water source, and then you have a basic understanding of what you are doing. Even if it is just 20 or 50, let me put it that way, it's something that you want to consume. I mean, it's fun. The scale at which you want to operate will determine how much you want to make. Because if you do it a little bit, you may not really make money, but it will be fun, and then you also see the result, which will give you the idea of when you go into it on a bigger scale. But if you really want to go into it as a business, it is capital intensive, because you have to have water source, you have to have good amount of land, and then you have to have money of your own. Not money that you borrow, not money that you're expecting that somebody will give to you, because immediately you put those catfishes, you stock them in the water, like salt. You can't stop them from eating. They have to eat, and if you don't feed them, they will feed on themselves, and then the money will be gone, and then eventually they will not grow, and subsequently they will die. But if it's well managed, you will definitely get your money back, especially if you are into drying or smoking of catfishes.
What was your startup like?
When we first started, it was terrible. We started with about 25,000, which was in a different location. This is actually my third location. A consultant who was supposed to be a catfish professional. Our main farm that you guys saw, that was where he advised us to build ponds. So we built so many ponds. It was a failure. We started with 25,000 at that time. Like I said, going into agric was not really the passion for the agric or farming itself. For me, it was business. It was about money. What is in demand? What will give me money? And how do I do it? All I was calculating then was about the money. Okay, if you do this amount of catfish farming, this is how much you will get. So sometimes we have to look beyond that. So I think that was also a mistake from me, not knowing all the fundamentals and the basic principles. It didn't work out because, like we talk about water, there was no water in the place that we went to. So everything dried up, and we started using borehole. You cannot, I repeat, if anybody is telling you to use borehole to operate catfish farming, that's the beginning of a failure. But that was what we did, yes. So that didn't work out because the fishes were already growing. So we ended up relocating somewhere else to go rent a pond. Since we could not find water in the first place, we started everything. The initial idea was to have our crops to be fertilized by the catfish waste. Catfish waste is a very good source of fertilizer. If you have catfish waste, the water from catfish, you don't need a fertilizer for your crops. But anyway, it didn't work out. So we went somewhere else to rent some ponds. Security of that place was terrible. So they stole most of our fishes. From 20,000, we headed up with about 7,000 to 8,000. Because it was 18 ponds, we had people, they were going in at night, taking out all those fishes. So, and we were just feeding water and pouring feeds in there. before we relocated from that place and acquired our home piece of land at this particular location. This is about 10 to 12 plot of land, and it's been really successful.
What a story. You said something now. You said it is not possible to have a fish pond with a borehole. Why did you say
Yes, thank you very much. I say so because fish is water, water is fish. You have to periodically change the water because they will have their waste in there, and then it becomes even hazardous to themselves. Ammonia will develop, let's just say within few days, especially if it's concrete tank, meaning that it will start causing them to have oxygen problem. You see them coming up gasping for air. For borehole to be able to pump the amount of water that will be needed to circulate and be enough for them, you realize that cost-wise, it's not worth it because the amount of petrol, or diesel, whatever that you are using, is not gonna worth it by the time you want to sell those fishes at the end of the day. Hatchery, you can use borehole. We have our borehole here, which we use for hatchery because fingerlings, which are the baby fish, they are very fragile and sensitive. The river water from there, you cannot use it for the fingerlings. And the second thing is that the water will have to keep running 24 hours whenever you're doing production, which you may likely not get from your river because the water has to be well filtered too for you to operate a lab. An average solar to pump water into the pond to set up, I don't know about other places, for us here it range about from 7 to 10 million naira. That may be overwhelming for someone that is newly coming into the system.
If someone wants to get here, how does person go about?
This place is Asadam area, Ilorin, Kwara State. We do not sell directly to retailers. Usually we sell to the off-takers, people that will bring their buses, and we've had that here. People come all the way from Abuja, they'll come from Lagos, so there would have been some kind of pre-arrangement and negotiation and agreement on price. So they'll come with their scale, we also have our scale. So to make sure that we balance things out, it takes about 3 hours to drain out water. Those fish, you stress them out, and then you will not see the death or the mortality in those fish immediately. So if the customer decides that they don't want to buy anymore and then they leave, just because sometimes you have people that want to take advantage of you, some customers, they know that once you've drained out the water from the pond, you will be forced or compelled to sell to them because now they are lowballing you, they are trying to negotiate the price down because you don't want your fish to die. So that's why we don't sell directly. So there will be some pre-arrangement. So once the water is drained out, we'll weigh everything and then you get your stuff and go. But like I said, for the most part, we are willing to buy from anyone that wants to sell catfish to us because we cannot even meet our catfish demand when it comes to our dry fish because we export. So we export our catfishes, our dry fish, and I'm pretty sure you will see our store where we have our outlets and our packaged catfish. So we have our local demands and we have our international demands where we export and package our product and sell it outside the country. We have 50 to 70,000 capacity. We don't want to rush things. We're taking it one step at a time, which makes us open for partnership as well, or anyone that is interested in renting some of the ponds that we're not using. We are the only gated farm here. Anyone that wants to rent or anyone that wants to partner with us will be somebody that really care about their money, and then they will take security as priority and nothing like just do it like everybody else. So we have certain practice that they'll have to follow as well.
So how long does it take to grow these fishes to maturity?
There is really no specific answer to that. Honestly, every catfish farmers have their goal. For somebody that wants to sell their fish for table size or fresh, some people will want to stock them for about 7 months because there are different type of catfish. Have hybrid, then you do have the regular catfish. If you're only smoking 3 to 4 months, it's fine, which we call it melange. They won't be really that big. So when you smoke them, they are not as big as catfish that you cook. That way you're saving money because the longer you keep them, the more money you spend on their feeds and their water and all of that. So size does not really matter to us because we cut them and then they are sold in weight. But normal standard practice when we used to sell our catfish fresh is usually 5 to 7 months.
So how often do you need to change the water?
For concrete is every 2 days. As for the 18 pond, that's why most people prefer 18 ponds. So for the 18 ponds, we do once in a month. You do have some 18 ponds, which we have here, because all 18 ponds are not the same. You have some that the water springs up from the bottom, yes. So there is always that a natural recirculation process where the water just recirculates itself and it doesn't really get dirty. So what we do is we constantly still run water to recirculate it, rather than having to change it even once in a month. We don't even wait up to 1 month before we change it, which you will get to see that in a little bit. Since it's solar, why not make use of the sun?
Is there any feeding method?
Yes. We use spot feeding. This called spot feeding is where you choose, yes, a particular section that your fish will trust you that once they come there, they can eat every time.
What will you tell someone that wants to go into fish farming to look out for?
I would say look out for water. Don't do the same mistakes that we made. Look for someone that is actually progressing in the business as a mentor, because you do need a mentor. Keep proper records of your business and then be involved and learn as much as you can, and then understand your market. Don't just come into it thinking that you will be rich overnight. It doesn't work like that. Even though we say there is demand out there, it doesn't really work like that. You may still have off-takers that may want to take advantage of you. People can go into catfish and still lose money because you do not understand the market and relate with other farmers around you, so as to be up to date with the prices.
Let's say someone wants to start small. How much do you think? Like just a figure.
Okay, we don't count capital, fixed asset. For me, I would say 300,000 to 500,000 on a small scale.
Okay.
And that is excluding our capital asset, like the land and the fixed asset. So because those we really cannot quantify. It all depends on whether you are renting the ponds or you buy your own land, or in terms of the operational expenses, the direct cost of production.
Yeah.
An average pond, they're renting 100,000 to 150,000 naira yearly.
Yeah.
Yes. In terms of because starting with 1,000 does not mean that you will end up with 1,000. There is no way that you will not have a reduced number by the time you get to your period of harvest. It is natural. They will die. It is normal. Good practice says about 10%. You'll still make your money.
Is there any way to know if they are safe like that?
Yes.
Right?
They are not as complicated as poultry. Yes, poultry farming or some other this. It all depends on how people view it. Because we're trying to do poultry as well. We have decided when I researched it and I saw so many things, all this bird food, I'm like, this is too much. This is a lot. It's like human being getting sick. Because I'm also into medical, so I said, it's like human being getting sick. These are too many, treatment involved and too many diagnoses when it comes to that. For catfish, you can see the symptoms. You can see the signs and symptoms in them. If your water is good, 90-something% of the diseases that you deal with in catfish, it's usually from their water. So if your water is good for the most part, you will have less disease breakout. Just look out for symptoms. Maybe they're having peeling skin, or they are not eating. You come today, you feed, you realize that they are not as excited. Yes, they are not rushing. So they will let you know. You will see it when something is wrong with them. Once you change the water, you solve a major aspect of the problem. If it's something that's physical, like peeling of the skin, or you're seeing some kind of deformity or some strains of, you use antibiotics. We try to stay away from antibiotics in treating catfish, but sometimes you cannot do without them. People try to cut corner. They like shortcuts sometimes and say, okay, give catfish anything, give them gari, give them dead dog. And you're thinking that you save money because you don't want to spend too much money on the feed, because feeds are expensive. You will definitely see the result in them. So there is really no shortcut. In some cases, you will have people even advertising all these drugs, that if you give them certain drugs, they will be swollen. They will go faster. All those things are scams. If you buy a bloated catfish, you put them on a weight. They won't weigh anything. And what happens? Your customer don't trust you anymore because as soon as they start cooking them, it will deflate. So you don't want to compromise your quality. So if you use good quality feeds, a lot of times your catfish will be fine and you follow good practice.
Can you take us around?
Yes, sure.
And this is the entrance.
Yes. This is the entrance to the archery.
All right.
We come to our archery. This we can have up to 100,000 capacity.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
In here?
Yes. And you can see there's a camera, so I get to have the view. Wherever I am, even when I'm not here, wherever I am in the world, I can see it on my phone. I monitor the activities. So
Currently, you're not hatching now?
no, we are not hatching. So because our last hatching, the last fingerlings, everything we produce, you get to see them. They are transferred to the other ponds. So these are some of the equipment because you use medications, you use injection whenever you are hatching.
Yeah, hatch.
So we use siphon and we use some of this to remove the waste.
So what's here and that too? Is there any reason for that?
Yes, because it's one of the good practice. Unlike the other catfish, table size. So when it comes to fingerlings, you can call it like a lab. The environment has to be controlled. You cannot have that exposure to sunlight, and the temperature has to be in certain temperature. You have to keep sunlight away from it. And this is our smoking area.
Okay,
These are two. Yes, we have total of 4 to 5 machines. They are located in other places, but here we do smoke. Okay. And this has a capacity of gas and charcoal, which meets the standard, the government standard. But for us, we mainly use charcoal for our smoking. So this is where we smoke our catfish. And this can have a capacity of about 400.
400 as one?
Yes, that can smoke up to 120. So we have total of 4 machines. So these are 2 that we do here, and we do have 2 on the other side.
So these are the
tanks that supply the archery for the production of fingerlings. When you are doing production, water has to continue running for 24 hours non-stop. When the water stops, they are dead. Our production takes about 4 weeks, which is where you have a majority of your cost of production. That is for fingerling. This is where we have our brood stock. They are very sensitive catfish. They stay mostly in the bottom of the water. They are bottom feeders. So you start seeing them. Yeah, feed. You see?
Oh, I see how coming out. Yeah, it's so big, honestly. So that if
2 years, some of them are up to 3 years, so they are 2 to 3 years. This, we acquire them from fingerlings, from babies. So some of them we raise ourselves. Yes, and these ones, the brood stock, they don't have to be fed like 2 to 3 times in a day. You can feed them only 1 time in a day. They are really good. They don't have a high metabolism. Whatever they eat, their digestive process takes a bit of time. So they can keep the food in them for a very long period of time. We have here, with the ones you see here, so that everybody can feed. So this is the feeding spot. So go ahead, go ahead and feed.
Right?
Feed them.
Are they also parents' stock?
No. These are the babies of the other ones.
Okay. Wow, they look so big.
You'll see more activities once we get to the main one.
Oh, wow. Does that still need more feed?
Yes.
Is there any measure? Do you measure? Like,
we use mainly this.
Okay, then.
Yes.
Okay, like they've eaten for today.
Yeah, but yes, they've eaten today. That's why you can see them slower. Yeah. But so this is like extra feed for them. Because we usually don't feed by this time of the day. Temperature affects their eating period. So when there is sun, they tend to eat more. When everywhere is cool, they don't eat much. But take note of something here, because sometimes people get confused. You see different color system.
Yeah.
They are from the same parent. You see that these ones are kind of white.
Yeah.
When we get over there, you see them being black. Sometimes people may be worried about why is the color different. One of the dynamic nature of catfish is they tend to adapt to their environment because of the towel. Because the towels is white, they tend to take the environment just like a chameleon. Yes. So now we'll go to the main place where we have more.
Okay, there are 6 fishes here. Okay, these are the 8 ponds.
Yes. So that's our feeding spot there. And you can see we have crops because when we discharge the water goes there. So these crops grow all year round. Because even when there is no rain, we don't put fertilizer, we don't put nothing.
Really?
Yes.
And they are
This is from the catfish. You can see how big the corns are.
Yeah.
These are from the catfish waste.
Wow.
Yes.
These ponds are really big.
Whatever you grow here, vegetables, tomatoes, name it. Are we ready?
Yeah.
All right, so it's time to
Can I
feed.
feed as well?
Yes, it's time to have some fun.
Okay. Wow.
This started from fingerlings. They are babies. They started from that lab, from the hatchery. A lot of them are not coming out just because of the fact that they've been fed. And for somebody that needs money, you know, you can quickly get rid of this and make your money and sell them fresh. But like I said, we smoke our catfish, so we are not in a rush. The bigger they are, the better for us. The more money we make out of it. So, and then the netting on top of it, people may be wondering, why do you have nets? It helps to keep the predators away. Because you do have animal predators and you have human predators as well. Normally, you're supposed to net them when they are smaller to prevent the bird from preying on them, the birds coming to pick them. Because at this stage, the birds cannot pick them anymore. Anything that falls in there, whether it's frog or bird, becomes even feed for the catfish.
Oh.
So for us, we still leave the nets on there in order to prevent, so that way you can tell if somebody is messing or stealing your stuff. So we have about 1,000, a total of 3,000 spread out in most of our ponds.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, there are fishes here as well.
Yes. You can see the color. You see the color of these ones, they are black, they are darker. And they are from the same parent. They are the same thing as the concrete one. That's why it's called a spot feeding. When you are feeding, you will have some that are aggressive. Those ones are like shooters. They are more active.
Okay.
So they tend to come out to eat first. So when your guys come to eat and they are done, they are satisfied, then the smaller ones will come so as to prevent attack. And that's why we use a floating feed. What happens is that this feed will stay on top of the water for a certain period of time. It does not sink at the same, So some people use sinking feeds. Okay. Sinking feeds will just go in there and dissolve immediately. One of the things about catfish, one of the myths, is that people believe if you overfeed them, they will die. As a result of that, they don't feed patiently. One of the things that we discuss with our staff is be patient when you are feeding them. Stay there, spend time. Don't just pour the feed in the water and leave. So keep feeding them gradually until they are satisfied. When they are satisfied, they will leave themselves. Yeah. A lot of times the water will take to the color of the sand that you have in your eating pond. As far as we're concerned, whenever the solar is turned on, the water always circulates. On a daily basis, we pump water into this point. Okay. And then when it overfills, when it gets too much, you can see our discharge point. And it passes through here and it goes out through here.
Okay.
You can come and see right now. So the water is discharging.
Okay.
So every day we pump water because it's not part of our cost of production. It doesn't cost us money. Our source of water is the solar, and it's from the main body of the water dam, which you will be able to see. Yes. So, and this is our third eating pond.
Okay.
Yes. They are very sensitive, just like birds. They are sensitive to sound. They are sensitive to color. There are different sizes of feed. So this is 4 mm, and is produced by alpha.
Okay.
When we're feeding the other time, the broodstock, we feed them a larger size. So the bigger the fish, the bigger the size of the fish.
Assuming someone watching this video wants you to, wants AFAB farm, right?
Yeah.
Set up a farm for them. Do you guys do that?
Yes, we are open to that. Depends on the type of partnership. Sometimes people may just need only a bit of help or advice, or they may need some other form of support. So it all depends where they are, what kind of partnership they are looking at. If they want everything to be set up from A to Z, of course, we are willing to do that as long as within our reach. For me, if it is not a water, if you don't have access to water, I will not be part of anybody's failure by saying, just because you have the money, you should do it. No, don't do it. You can use your money for something else. We have all these ponds all the way down. Everything over there we are not using yet. They are all vacant ponds. All this place is pond. You can have pond here. The reason that I did not build any pond there, because I told them, some of our neighbors, you can see they will have it, for flooding issue. So I don't want any flooding to occur. Since we have enough ponds here, we are not building anything here. So that's our solar. The ponds that we build there is only for water.